What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and I'm back for my week 4 SPL game. This time I'm going to be playing against Posho. Posho is using a team with a triple psychic core with Tapu Lele, which I'm looking at team preview, looks like it could be a Scarf set or even a Z-Move Breaker set, a Shed Shell set, something of the sorts. We've got Metagross, which is looking to be just like Floor Attack Breaker. Latios, which I'm not entirely sure what it could be, but I do know that if the Lele is not Scarf, it is most definitely going to be Choice Scarfed itself. Posho is going to be using a Lando plus Tangrowth to just patch up the defenses of the team, give it some general switch-ins to a lot of attackers, and also give Rocks and Greninja to give a lot of breaking potential because it looks to be a Protean Greninja on his team. Protean Greninja nowadays running Ice Beam, Gunk Shot, and one of Low Kick or HP Fire very frequently with either Spikes or a 4th move as their last slot. And it's very hard to switch into that Greninja. As you can see on my team, I pretty much have no switch into it, so that's definitely something to be worried about. But looking at the team matchup, while I do have no switch-ins to Greninja, he also has very few switch-ins to the Primarina, especially if I get out my Rocks. He literally has nothing that avoids the 2 KO, although he does have Metagross to take 1 Moonblast and Outrun and hit me with a really strong mash. Maybe even T-Punch would kill because Primarina's defense isn't that great, but his special defense is absolutely amazing. But even Tangrowth definitely 2 KO'd by Specs Moonblast, even with max Spadef Assault Vest after Rocks, but I still have a chance to 2 KO even without Rocks, so it's definitely hard for him to switch into Primarina, but more potent is my Sharpedo and my Scarf Pheromosa. Scarf Pheromosa just completely ravages his team. He basically does not have a good answer to it at all. It's like he forgot about it when team building. Greninja dies to it, Tapu Lele dies with some prior damage, same with Metagross. Latios dies, Tangrowth dies, probably with some prior damage if it's Assault Vest since I'm special, and Lando can die to Ice Beam, although not anything else, unless it's severely weakened and I have a Beast Boot or I have Beast Boost boosts. But Pheromosa is definitely looking like a very strong win con, and Sharpedo as well looking like a potential win con because it can beat 4 out of 6 of his team. I just need to weaken that Landorus and remove or heavily weaken that Tangrowth such that I can get several kills while it tries to regenerate. So definitely looking like Sharpedo or Pheromosa can definitely put in a lot of work with Primarina to soften his team up, Lando and Pharaoh to also get some spikes up, soften his team, check some mons. And Zygarde is pretty much death fodder this game, so that's how I'm going to be using it actually. But this is a game that is full of mistakes, both on my end and Posho's end, that also has to do with information management and probability management. So it's definitely one that everyone can learn from, definitely me, and I think you guys can learn from it as well. So yeah, let's just jump right into the game. I'm going to be leading off with my Pheromosa just because it threatens everything on his team. I can U-turn out if I don't want to lock myself into something right away, and I can just threaten everything. I do end up going for a U-turn on that Greninja as he goes to his Landorus, and he gets that helmet damage on me. Yeah, so I'm going to go into my Primarina right here because he has no switch-ins, and I definitely scare him out, or I can chunk him for massive Moonblast damage if he predicts me to not go for a Water move, which I doubt he'd stay in. But the thing with this Primarina move, well, one, I saw Rocky Helmet, so I know it's not a Z-move Landorus, so this way I know I'm not like at risk of getting O-code right away or something like that. But at the same time, I think if I plan this game very closely around Sharpedo plus Pheromosa. Well, first of all, a little backstory. I was like, this day was a really off day for me. I was having a bad headache, wasn't being able to think straight. I wasn't completely confident with my team since it was just a modification of a previous team. I didn't have much time to prep, so I wasn't feeling extremely confident in myself and my playing abilities. And I almost didn't want to play, but we didn't really have, the Wolfpack didn't really have another choice, so we kind of just jumped right into this game, and I was just playing it honestly. I didn't really think through a lot of stuff, and that's partly why I made so many mistakes. So I think one thing I failed to do this game, which I normally do, is to create a really solid game plan for the whole game and stick through it. I kind of just went to Primarina because I knew it could do a ton of damage to his team and just start breaking it apart, but at the same time I should have realized that my key target to breaking his team was that Landorus, and also just some hazard damage on that Lele. Honestly, that's all I needed to beat his team. That's all I needed. So I didn't really need to chunk his Tangrowth for Moonblast damage when he has Regenerator anyway, and then following the chunk whatever Mon comes in. I really didn't need to do that. I felt like maybe going to Lando here, just getting up rocks, threatening him with a potential Supersonic Sky Strike might have been more valuable, especially since I think Pheromosa is the most valuable sweeping option with Bug Buzz, and it kind of just runs through him. Another thing I didn't mention is that there's a chance that his Greninja could be Ash Greninja with Shuriken. But even if it was, he'd need like 4 or 5 hits to kill a completely healthy Pheromosa. So I thought it was fairly safe to stay in that first turn. And just by the looks of his team, I didn't think it would be an Ash Greninja. So that's another reason. But that's really the only thing that can stop me. Maybe a Bullet Punch Metagross, even though he has Psychic Terrain, he might want to run that for priority. As long as I'm not like too weakened, I'm pretty sure I can tank 1 Bullet Punch. And honestly, just a weakened Landorus, and I get 1+1 boost, maybe a tiny bit of chip on Lele, and I just run through his entire team just with Bug Buzz, completely rolled through. So I think going to Lando, setting up my rocks would have been really, really valuable here. But I do go to Primarina, so I'm just going to toss out a really strong Specs Moonblast. As you can see, that does 51 to Tangrowth. That is a higher end roll, but I know since it did more than 50, it's going to be pressured out. He goes to Metagross and does just as much damage, which is absolutely insane. Primarina is so strong. That's why you use it over Tapu Fini for that Specs damage output. Now here I go to Zygarde. The reason I don't go to Ferrothorn is I was, for some reason, irrationally fearful that he would predict Ferrothorn and go for like a really aggressive Hammer Arm, just because I knew he like ran Hammer Arm Metagross a decent amount in Oras. So for some reason I was really worried about that, but honestly just going to Ferrothorn and getting that Iron Barb's damage and the opportunity to set up spikes would have just been great. I did go to Zygarde because it gave me the safest option to pivot into my Ferrothorn, because if he Ice Punches I'll still take that with ease, take a Hammer Arm next if he has Hammer Arm. A lot of them are running Earthquake right now, which is better in my opinion. But because Posho hasn't played a ton of SM, or actually I think he has played a fair bit amount, but maybe he doesn't like it, so maybe he's not keeping up as much with it. He may still be running Hammer Arm because that was standard in Oras. So that's why I was a little fearful of going to Ferrothorn, and I made this pivot playing to Zygarde. I think if I just went to Ferrothorn, it would have worked out better for me. I would have been able to get that Iron Barb's damage, which would have been really nice for later on in this game when he's able to use Metagross as a sack. Anyway, I do go into my Ferrothorn there, and he switches his Zygarde out into, his Metagross out into Tangrowth, which pretty much shows that he doesn't have Ice Punch on his Metagross. Otherwise, he would have most likely gone for it. So I do get my Ferrothorn in on that Tangrowth, and I'm just going to lay up a Spikes right here to get some chip on his team. I think it's especially important for Lele and Metagross, but it also helps pressure his Tangrowth so that Regenerator isn't so powerful in sponging a bunch of hits. Anyway, Posho pulls a hard switch into Greninja, and this can only signal one thing: it is most definitely a Protean Greninja, with Ice Beam, Gunk Shot, 1 of HP Fire Low Kick, and 1 other move, potentially Spikes. This is one thing I didn't realize in the game, but I should have realized it. If you're gonna pull a hard switch to Greninja versus a Ferrothorn, you are going to be running HP Fire, not Low Kick. Otherwise, you're just gonna deal 70 to Ferrothorn, but you're gonna die right afterwards. So, he's definitely HP Fire, and this gives me the information I need to pull an aggressive play that could win the game by just going to Sharpedo, preserving my Mons, not letting him get a kill right here, can actually put the pressure back on him, also force him into Tangrowth, which doesn't really doesn't really put a lot of pressure on me. It just kind of tries to stop the Mon that's in right now. So yeah, I think going to Sharpedo here would have been a really good play, since he's just so unlikely to be a low kick. But even though I was expecting it to be HP Fire, I was for some reason afraid that it might be low kick, so I went for a Protect, and he goes for a Spikes. That's a really aggressive play, but it works out very nicely for him, because that Spikes is actually going to be really nice for damage on my I actually am. Maybe he doesn't know it right now, but it's going to be nice for my Primarina and also my Pheromosa in the late game. So maybe not would have been as important if I had played this differently, of course, but yeah, as the game progresses, you'll see that those spikes is important. Anyway, now here, for whatever reason, I decided to stay in with my Ferrothorn because I knew I could live 1 HP Fire. I thought I could Leech Seed, get Protect, get some health back. He HP Fires and crits me, so I'm dead. Which kind of sucks, but I wasn't really going to make a huge difference with Ferrothorn versus a Fire-type Greninja anyway. I decided to go to Primarina here just so I can get a little more pressure than just by going to Sharpedo and protecting, and I do make the aggressive U-turn play as he goes into Metagross, kind of as a middle ground, I guess, not wanting to risk a Lando, and I go into my Sharpedo here because it's the only thing I can actually become faster and then knock out this Metagross. That being said, he has a very safe switch into Tangrowth, whereas because of the fact that I went to Zygarde earlier and that he did not stay in on the Zygarde and instead made a defensive switch into Tangrowth, kind of shows me that his Metagross is most likely not Ice Punch. And because I also would have been able to get the Intimidate, I'm not sure whether Ice Punch would be able to kill because I have a lot of bulk, but I'm not physically defensive Lando since I am Z Fly Lando, but I'm actually max speed, but I don't know if Ice Punch would have been able to kill, but he most likely doesn't have it either way. And getting up rocks with the Lando is actually going to make a really huge difference. Again, if I just prioritize beating down his Lando, rocks is definitely the way to go in terms of trying to get chip damage on that and really wear it down for Sharpedo and Pheromosa. So that's really the most reliable way I have of taking it down to force it in while rocks are up. So I probably could have gone to Lando right here, and that would have made a big difference because if he didn't have Ice Punch, he wouldn't have been able to 2-hit KO me. I'd be able to knock him out. I don't really need my health on Landorus for anything. I just want rocks up, and I want to be able to throw off a Supersonic Sky Strike and get a kill, preferably on this Tangrowth. So what ends up happening is that because I protect, he goes to his Tang, and he Giga Drains as I pull a switch into Lando. I am in range of HP Ice, so I don't want to just rocks as he kills me. I felt that would just put me in a really awkward position, and I know Supersonic Sky Strike is going to be really nice for me, especially if he chooses right here to go to his Landorus. He very smartly does not do so, but because realizing that it's important for late game, I guess, but or I don't know, maybe he did not realize that, but he just thought he could knock me out with HP Ice right here. But I show off the Z-Fly Supersonic Sky Strike, completely Okos the Tangrowth. I think this was a mistake to stay in with Tangrowth and just completely let it die to Lando, because it means my Sharpedo can put a lot more pressure on his team. That being said, it is kind of fair that you kind of make sure that I'm not going to get out my rocks without losing my Lando completely. But yeah, I think sacking Tangrowth was arguably a choke on his end, although I don't really know if it would have made a huge difference if I end up winning with Pheromosa anyway if I take that route, but it definitely would have helped him versus Sharpedo. Now here I sack my Zygarde because it's completely Deathfather, like I said. Lando still has potential to maybe do something in this game, so I do sack that and I go to my Pheromosa. This is probably my final choke of this game, is maybe not my final one, but for whatever reason I Bug Buzz. I don't know why I didn't click U-turn. He's very obviously clicking Metagross, and I literally spent my entire time of this turn thinking whether I wanted to pull a double switch to anything to get a better position on his Metagross sack or not. I decided no, and then for whatever reason I clicked Bug Buzz instead of U-turn, which was really bad because I have absolutely no reason not to click U-turn, since he's gonna go into something that'll force me out anyway, like either Lando if I'm not locked into Ice Beam, or Tapu Lele, because it can live any one hit. So U-turn would have been really good, because if he goes to Tapu Lele, then I get that crucial damage, and if he goes to Lando, I can just U-turn into my own Lando, U-turn into Primarina or whatever, and I can get that tiny bit more chip, which as you'll see is going to be a little bit important in the late game, and yeah, it's going to be important, and just get a tiny bit more chip damage on that Lando. I would have also been able to and it just would have put me in a better position with regards to dealing with his offensive pressure on my team. So Yeah, the Bug Buzz was definitely a really huge mistake because now I'm forced out as he's able to go to Lele. I end up going to my Lando as a sack. He goes for the Moonblast. I was thinking that this was kind of a sign that he was scarred because he didn't want to click a psychic move in case I go into my Sharpedo for whatever reason. Or he did, it was very unlikely for me to go to Sharpedo on a Tapu Lele just hard like that. So I figured Moonblast was because he didn't want to be locked into Psyshock, or rather Psychic. The reason I'm saying Psyshock is because he's most likely is Psyshock now that I think about it, but he does click a Moonblast again, and because he outran me, I'm thinking he could be Timid Psychium still, but in my experience, I've ran like Calm Mind Modest Psychium because it hits so incredibly hard that you can even break past Heatran and stuff like that. So I thought he would be Modest Psychium or Scarf. I honestly should have thought about it better, that honestly Latios didn't have a good reason to be on that team unless it was Scarf, so he probably, and because of the fact that his Lando was Helmet, he has no other Z-move candidate really other than Lele. I guess it could be like a Z-move Latios, but it's unlikely, so I probably should have expected this, but he Z-Psychics me, and that completely outgoes Primarina when I otherwise would have lived any hit, and that's really bad for me because now it's just my Shark and my Primarina, and at this point I'm pretty sure I lose. But I guess there's still a way out. Now that I know he's not Scarf, I can safely go to Sharpedo Protect and know I'll outrun him. He goes into his Greninja on my Protect, so I'm just going to Protect again. This way I force him into a type that's not Water Dark, and I can just knock him out the next turn. He gunks, I'm just going to Psychic Terrain and knock this Greninja out. But it's not, the key thing here is that now he can go into his Lando, get the Intimidate, and because he's so healthy, his Lando is going to be able to beat my Sharpedo, so right here I have a very small chance to win, but if I crit, if I get a flinch, that could potentially decide the game. I end up going for the Waterfall and don't end up flinching or critting him as he just knocks me out with a U-turn. One reason why why U-turn damage on Lele might have been important is the U-turn damage on Lele's put him in range of Ice Beam. That way potentially my Pheromosa could sweep with Ice Beam if I get the right opportunity to click it and get a Beast Boost. So that I'm pretty sure, I don't know actually if I need Ice Beam boost to Oko Latios. Honestly, let me check that. I might have messed up. I kind of assumed. I'm an idiot, aren't I? No, okay, so I'm not a massive idiot. I do need a boost to kill Latios with Ice Beam, so yeah, so definitely he wouldn't want to stay in. He'd want to have clicked U-turn with Lando and just go to Lele, and he would have ideally liked to go to Lele right here and be able to see, his best play right here is to just go to Lele and live anyone hit and knock me out. The only way he can lose is if I crit the Lele. But he goes to Latios for whatever reason. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the U-turn play, if the U-turn play would have made things a lot different because his Lele wouldn't have been able to get 2 kills. But if it did, he would exchange that for damage on Lele, which would have created a position where I could win. So he ends up choosing to go to Latios, though. I'm not really sure why. I guess it forces me into Bug Buzz, but it gives me a free Beast Boost. I think maybe he was thinking I was not Choice Scarf, even though this is my fastest one on my team, and I probably want a Revenge Killer, so Choice Scarf makes much more sense to me, at least. And he yells this, but it seems to me that he, based on his reaction, he probably, maybe for some reason he didn't expect Scarf Pheromosa, but I end up OHKOing with Bug Buzz, and this is where the damage on the Landorus really matters. If I just had Rocks, he would definitely be in range of +1 Buzz, and if I just had a tiny bit more chip, even from U-turn, then he would be in range of +1 Bug Buzz as well. Right now, he's just out of range of +1 Bug Buzz, so I actually need a crit to knock out this Landorus. And the other annoying thing about the spikes is that I actually would have been able to live a hit from Landorus and not die if I didn't take that spikes damage twice in the game. So and another thing about the spikes is with the Primarina, I would have been able to avoid a 2-hit KO from the Moonblast, so I would have been able to just go hard into Primarina versus the Tapu Lele and feel very safe about how I go about it. Either my Primarina lives because he's locked into Moonblast and his Scarf, and I'm able to deal a ton of damage back, or he knocks me out, but then I know he's not Scarf, and I'm able to keep my Landorus around or something like that. So yeah, it's a very, very odd situation, but those little things ended up mattering because we both like messed up and ended up in this endgame situation. Anyway, my only way to win is to crit. I bug buzz and I get the crit. The Lord blessed me. I sacrificed enough sheep this time, so that definitely a lucky break for me. I definitely misplayed this game. That being said, I also think Posho misplayed and gave me the opportunity to hack him for the win, but I definitely also made mistakes to turn what should have been probably a very comfortable win considering how well Sharpedo and Pheromosa like completely runs through his team, into something where I have to luck it to win it. But I do get the luck, which is good for me and my team. It actually saves my team, but I definitely made mistakes this game. That's something I should learn from, something that you guys can probably learn from as well, just in similar situations or just in general. And Posho also made mistakes with managing, I guess, the way he planned out the game. He opened the game to more chances of hacks. For example, if he just went to Lele, I'd have to crit his Lele and crit his Landers to beat his team. And if, I mean, I think, did I, no, I guess maybe if he feared that I was a beast boosting spec something set, then maybe I would have been able to Oko Lele and then I'd be able to beast boost past the Latios. But even then, it boils down to the same situation of Landorus needing to avoid a crit if I'm specs, and in that same situation, like, it's the same situation, except it's less likely that I'm Specs than I am Scarf, just looking at my team. So I think he managed that information poorly. I think he, sacking his Tangrowth was a poor play, and definitely I made mistakes with my Ferrothorn versus the Greninja, with the Pheromosa plays, with the dancing around the Lele stuff. It was kind of, I really made a lot of mistakes this game, but it's one to learn from, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys did learn something from this game, and I'll see you. I guess another thing I want to add is this week of SPL is mid-season, so I don't actually have a game this week, and no one else is playing this week. There is All-Stars, but I don't. This just for fun games, so I'm not really going to record that. But I will be resuming SPL content the next week, but I'll try to maybe get a Showdown Live or something going this week, just so you guys have a little break from SPL content, have something to watch. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.